Many people know that a substation is an important component of their community's electric system. They see substations in their neighborhoods, near schools, and outside of factories. A substation is critical to the operation of the generation, transmission, and distribution system because the equipment adjusts voltages to levels that can be used at factories, businesses, and in neighborhoods. And the substation has breakers and switches that can be controlled remotely by system operators in the Energy Control Center. Beyond that, though, even some experienced utility employees, especially those who rarely go inside substations, often know little about what goes on inside the substation fence. This video series explains how substation equipment works and how the equipment is maintained. You'll learn about the key components of a substation. If you work inside substations, you'll learn which sights and sounds are part of normal operations and which ones are not. Knowledge is essential in our never-ending journey to prevent all injuries. That's our #1 priority, always. So let's get started and learn about what's inside the fence. Inside a substation, voltage regulators automatically step the voltage of a line up and down as the amount of electric demand changes. Regulators are key to correcting the supply of voltage to each line and to minimize voltage swings between light and heavy load periods. When electric demand increases, a regulator will automatically step up to supply more voltage so that the electric equipment runs properly. A regulator has an auto transformer and an automatic tap changing mechanism that changes voltage in equal steps. There are 16 raised positions on the regulator that increase voltage, and 16 lower positions that step down voltage based on electric demand. Note that the regulator does not change tap positions instantaneously with a change in load. There will typically be a 45-second delay from the time load increases or decreases on a line before the regulator alters the voltage. The type of load near the substation being served dictates how often the regulator steps up and down. A regulator going to an industry that has a steady electric demand will remain fairly constant without changing positions. But a regulator serving a residential neighborhood typically will step up and down as load hits a peak when people get up to go to work, and later towards evening when they come home to eat dinner and spend their evenings in their houses. Regulators are made by different manufacturers, but they all typically have a tap position indicator, a key spring drive, and a reactor. There are always 3 regulators in each substation. Every 2 months, there is a visual inspection of all regulators on the EKPC system by the substation technicians at each of the 4 service centers. Each year, every regulator on the system undergoes a test called a dissolved gas analysis, or DGA. During this test, oil samples are taken to measure moisture and key gases within the oil that can be indications of problems with the regulator. If gases such as acetylene or ethylene are detected because of excess heating during the operation of the regulator, EKPC replaces the regulator immediately. If you are inside a substation, it's normal to hear the hum of transformers and the stepping of the regulator taps, moving up or down. The stepping sounds are an indication that the regulator is changing its tap position. Here's the sound of a normal stepping of the regulator taps. For those who need more detailed information about the regulator controls, there is a safety sheet inside the cabinet that explains how the controls operate. Keep in mind that before bypassing a regulator, always verify it is in the neutral position. And it is also important to remember that the regulator can be controlled manually. The key functions on the regulator control include tap position control, auto, manual, the neutral indication, measured regulated voltage, and remote local. This last function senses the voltage on the system to determine if the regulator should step up or down. Through an internal potential transformer connection, the regulator control measures regulated voltage and adjusts accordingly. There are several sounds to be concerned about if you're working near a regulator. Extra loud stepping of the taps, gurgling noises, pressure release sounds, rattling parts, arcing sounds. There are also visual signs that should be of concern. Those include dripping or bubbling oil, bulging of equipment, missing or cut grounds, dead animals, and burned parts. If equipment appears burned, it is likely that the parts of the regulator have weakened. Most of the problems with regulator malfunctions can be tied to motor capacitors that have failed. The second most common problem involves position switches inside that have gone bad. Always remember that low tapping, clicking, and clunking sounds are normal. But if you are concerned about what you are seeing or hearing inside a substation, immediately evacuate and report the situation to the EKP dispatcher. Remember, safety is always our top priority, so be vigilant, stay sharp, and follow the rules. You and your coworkers are key to our commitment to protect the grid and to safely transmit affordable, reliable power to the 16 owner-member cooperatives.